Quantum spirituality, awakening to your true nature. In a world where science and spirituality often seem at odds, quantum spirituality bridges the gap, offering a profound perspective on existence and consciousness. Rooted in the principles of quantum physics and ancient spiritual wisdom, this approach invites us to see reality not as fixed and deterministic but as fluid, interconnected, and shaped by our awareness. At its core, quantum spirituality suggests that consciousness is fundamental to reality. Just as quantum mechanics reveals that observation influences the behavior of particles, our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions shape our experiences. This paradigm shift empowers us to take an active role in our personal growth, healing, and manifestation. By understanding the principles of energy, vibration, and the observer effect, we can unlock new dimensions of self-awareness and transformation. Quantum spirituality teaches that we are not separate from the universe but deeply woven into its fabric, capable of co-creating our reality. This journey is about awakening to our true nature, one of limitless potential, deep interconnectedness, and boundless creativity. Are you ready to explore the mysteries of existence and harness the power within? Quantum spirituality offers the tools to transcend limitations and step into a life of purpose, flow, and infinite possibilities. The dawn of quantum spirituality. Science meets spirit. For centuries, science and spirituality were seen as opposing forces, one grounded in empirical evidence and the other in faith and transcendental experience. The Age of Enlightenment established science as the dominant means of understanding reality, relegating spiritual insights to the domain of personal belief. Yet, as physics has advanced into the subatomic world, the boundaries between these two seemingly disparate realms have begun to blur. Now, through the lens of quantum mechanics, we find a scientific framework that resonates with age-old spiritual teachings, opening new dialogues between materialism and metaphysics. Classical Newtonian physics upheld a deterministic worldview, in which the universe functioned like a vast clockwork mechanism governed by immutable laws. This perspective left little room for spiritual concepts such as consciousness influencing reality. However, the advent of quantum mechanics in the early 20th century dismantled these rigid assumptions. The pioneering work of physicists such as Max Planck, Niels Bohr, and Werner Heisenberg revealed a universe far more mysterious and interconnected than previously imagined. Quantum mechanics describes a reality where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously, only choosing a definite position upon measurement. This radical departure from classical determinism challenges materialist assumptions and suggests a profound connection between consciousness and the physical world. If observation influences reality, could it be that human intention shapes experience in ways akin to spiritual practices such as prayer, meditation, and visualization? The convergence of science and spirituality is not a new idea. Eastern traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, have long described reality as fluid and interdependent, emphasizing the illusory nature of a fixed, separate self. Similarly, mystical traditions within Christianity, Islam, Sufism, and Judaism, Kabbalah, have pointed to an underlying unity behind the material world. As quantum physics delves deeper into the nature of existence, it echoes these ancient teachings, offering a bridge between the scientific and the spiritual. The observer effect, intention shapes reality. One of the most striking principles of quantum mechanics is the observer effect, which suggests that the mere act of observation alters the behavior of particles. This phenomenon is famously illustrated by the double-slit experiment. When unobserved, particles exhibit wave-like behavior, passing through both slits simultaneously. However, when measured, they behave as particles, choosing one slit or the other. The implication is profound. Consciousness itself appears to play a role in shaping reality. This scientific discovery bears an uncanny resemblance to spiritual and metaphysical teachings that emphasize the power of thought and intention. Ancient traditions have long proposed that human consciousness influences the material world. In Hindu philosophy, for instance, the Upanishads speak of reality as Maya, an illusion shaped by perception. Similarly, Buddhist philosophy emphasizes that mind constructs reality through awareness and intention. Modern spiritual movements, such as the law of attraction, also resonate with the observer effect. Proponents argue that focused thought and emotional alignment can manifest desired outcomes, akin to quantum probabilities collapsing into concrete reality. If quantum physics supports the idea that observation affects matter, then spiritual teachings on visualization, affirmation, and mindful awareness may have a tangible scientific basis. Moreover, the placebo effect in medicine offers further evidence of the mind's influence over matter. Studies have shown that patients who believe in a treatment's efficacy often experience real physiological improvements, even when given inert substances. This phenomenon underscores the power of belief and intention, mirroring the quantum idea that consciousness participates in the unfolding of reality. The quantum field is unity, bridging science and spirituality. Quantum physics suggests that beneath the apparent diversity of the material world lies a vast, interconnected field of potential. This quantum field, sometimes called the zero-point field or unified field, is the fundamental substrate from which all particles and forces emerge. In this sense, it parallels ancient spiritual concepts such as Brahman in Hinduism, the Tao in Taoism, and the divine oneness described in various mystical traditions. In Hindu thought, Brahman is the ultimate, unchanging reality behind the transient world. Everything that exists arises from and dissolves back into Brahman. Similarly, Taoism speaks of the Tao as the ineffable source of all things, flowing through and animating existence. These descriptions align with the modern scientific notion of the quantum field, which pervades all space and gives rise to all matter and energy. David Bohm, a prominent physicist, proposed the idea of the implicate order, an underlying, unbroken wholeness from which reality unfolds. He suggested that what we perceive as separate objects and beings are merely expressions of this deeper unity. This perspective is strikingly similar to the mystical view that all things are interconnected and that separateness is an illusion. Spiritual experiences such as enlightenment, samadhi, or mystical union often involve a profound sense of oneness with the cosmos. Many who have undergone these experiences report a direct awareness of an underlying field of unity, which quantum physics now suggests may be a fundamental aspect of reality itself. Conclusion: toward a new paradigm. The dawn of quantum spirituality offers a transformative perspective on existence, one that reconciles science and mysticism. As quantum mechanics continues to unravel the mysteries of the universe, it reveals a world where consciousness, intention, and interconnectedness play fundamental roles. This convergence invites a new paradigm, in which spirituality is not seen as mere superstition, but as a vital counterpart to scientific inquiry. By embracing both empirical research and spiritual wisdom, we move toward a more holistic understanding of reality, one that acknowledges the profound role of consciousness in shaping our experience. The implications are vast, influencing fields as diverse as psychology, medicine, philosophy, and personal growth. As we continue to explore the nature of reality through both the microscope of science and the introspective lens of spirituality, we may find that the two are not separate, but reflections of the same underlying truth, a truth that unites the physical and the metaphysical in an elegant, quantum dance of existence. The illusion of separation. Classical versus quantum reality. For centuries, the prevailing view of reality was based on classical physics, a deterministic framework where everything in the universe follows predictable laws of motion and causality. Isaac Newton's mechanics depicted the universe as a vast machine, where every event was the inevitable result of preceding conditions. In this worldview, separation was an unquestioned fact, objects were distinct from one another, time flowed in one direction, and consciousness was seen as an emergent property of physical matter rather than an integral part of reality. However, the advent of quantum mechanics in the early 20th century shattered this classical perspective. At the subatomic level, particles do not behave like solid, separate entities but exist in superposition, states of potentiality rather than definite existence. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated that electrons behave as both particles and waves, depending on whether they are observed. This suggests that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality, challenging the notion of an objective, independent universe. Quantum entanglement further dismantles the idea of separation. When two particles become entangled, their states remain linked regardless of the distance between them. A change in one instantaneously affects the other, violating classical assumptions about space and time. This interconnectedness implies that reality is not composed of isolated entities but rather an interwoven, dynamic whole. If consciousness influences quantum states, as some interpretations suggest, then reality itself is observer-dependent. This aligns with ancient spiritual teachings that emphasize the mind's role in shaping experience. Rather than being mere witnesses of an external world, we may be active participants in its unfolding, dissolving the illusion of separation between observer and observed. The holographic universe. The holographic principle, first proposed by physicist Gerard 't Hooft and later expanded by Leonard Susskind, suggests that all the information contained within a three-dimensional space can be encoded on a two-dimensional boundary. This means that our seemingly solid and expansive universe may, at its core, be a projection from a lower-dimensional reality. This idea bears striking resemblance to Eastern philosophical concepts such as Maya, the illusion of reality described in Hindu and Buddhist traditions. According to these teachings, the material world is not ultimate reality but a temporary illusion created by our perceptions. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that the physical world is a mere shadow of the true, eternal essence. Modern simulation theory echoes these insights. Proponents like Nick Bostrom argue that if advanced civilizations can simulate conscious experiences, then it is statistically likely that we ourselves are living in a simulated reality. This perspective aligns with the holographic model and challenges our conventional notions of existence. If reality is indeed a simulation or projection, then the sense of separation we experience is a byproduct of an illusory construct rather than an absolute truth. If we accept the holographic model, then our perceived individual selves may be akin to fragments of a unified whole. Just as every part of a hologram contains the entire image, each individual consciousness might be a localized expression of a greater, interconnected intelligence. This idea bridges science and spirituality, suggesting that enlightenment is not about acquiring new knowledge but rather about seeing through the illusion of separateness. Beyond time and space. Quantum physics challenges our conventional understanding of time and space through the phenomenon of non-locality. In experiments with entangled particles, changes in one particle instantaneously affect its partner, regardless of distance. This suggests that information transfer may occur outside the constraints of space and time, hinting at a reality where past, present, and future coexist in ways that defy classical logic. Many spiritual traditions have long asserted that time is an illusion. In Advaita Vedanta, the concept of avidya, ignorance, keeps us trapped in linear time, but realization of Brahman, ultimate reality, reveals a timeless state of existence. Similarly, in Buddhist philosophy, the notion of sunyata, emptiness, implies that distinctions between past, present, and future are mental constructs rather than inherent properties of reality. Einstein's theory of relativity already suggests that time is relative, not absolute. A person moving near the speed of light experiences time differently than someone at rest. If time is a flexible dimension rather than a fixed progression, then our perception of events unfolding sequentially may be an illusion tied to our specific state of consciousness. From a practical standpoint, transcending time means recognizing that our awareness is not confined to the present moment in a linear sense. Near-death experiences, deep meditative states, and mystical visions often reveal an expanded sense of time where past, present, and future converge. If consciousness is fundamental rather than derivative of the brain, then it may operate in a domain beyond time and space altogether. The implications for personal transformation are profound. If we are not bound by time, then the limitations we impose on ourselves, regret over the past or anxiety about the future, are self-created. Spiritual awakening involves shifting our awareness from a time-bound identity to an eternal presence, dissolving the illusion of separation between past and future selves. Conclusion. The illusion of separation is deeply embedded in our perception of reality, reinforced by classical physics, materialist worldviews, and everyday experience. However, quantum mechanics, the holographic principle, and non-locality suggest that this division is illusory. Consciousness appears to be a fundamental aspect of reality rather than a byproduct of matter, and time and space may be flexible constructs rather than fixed absolutes. Understanding these concepts has profound spiritual implications. It invites us to reconsider the nature of self, reality, and our interconnectedness with the universe. By dissolving the illusion of separation, we open ourselves to a more expansive, holistic existence where consciousness is not limited by physical constraints. Ultimately, the quest for truth is not about discovering something external but rather about awakening to what has always been, an infinite, unified field of awareness in which all distinctions dissolve. Science and spirituality, once seen as opposing forces, are now converging toward the same realization, that reality is far more interconnected and fluid than we ever imagined. Get your copy now on Amazon and start living quantum.